Welcome to the Buy Box Bandits podcast.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Buy Box Bandits podcast. Today we have another awesome guest, Tyler Presnell, who's a young guy who back in 2020 actually sold over $1 million worth of books on Amazon, tore the whole thing down, and is now doing online arbitrage. Did over $100,000 worth in sales last month. So we're excited to talk about the pros, cons of a bulk book operation compared to OA, what's better, what we think is better for you guys listening, and all that. Tyler, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I've been listening. I've listened to, I think, all the Buy Box Bandits podcasts.
Hey, a loyal listener.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to finally be on the show. So that's exciting.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, you earned it and everything like that. So we're excited and everything. So take us back to the beginning with all the book stuff, obviously, because you were wildly successful with that compared to what Garrett and I and most people who
Average bookseller, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we, me and a friend of mine started in 2019. We were just kind of doing the thrift store hustle, and we kind of were working on trying to scale that up, and then kind of had some bulk opportunities kind of fall in our lap, and then kind of went into COVID in 2020, and all the thrift stores locally had just a ton of supply of books, and nobody was in the store shopping for them, so they needed a place to get rid of them, and we were that place. And we hired a couple of employees and really just kind of scaled it up over the entirety of 2020. And then at the kind of end of 2020, we had some kind of problems with the restock limits because we were doing all FBA. We weren't doing any FBM. And when the restock limits kind of came, that kind of shifted that entire business model for us. And then we kind of winded that down towards the end of 2021. And that's when I started doing OA kind of April of this year or last year of 2022. And then it's kind of scaled that up into, really got serious around September, and then really scaled up into kind of December.
And so obviously as you were closing out that book business, was there ever a point where you were hesitant to continue with Amazon, another model, or you were, all right, what's next now? Just straight
Yeah.
pivoting.
Honestly, I didn't know that OA was as big as it was.
Right. But you were in the space and
yeah,
that's the benefit of being it.
Yeah, right. I knew a lot about Amazon, but I didn't know that. Honestly, I just didn't even, I couldn't even comprehend that until I saw some guys. I started following some more OA guys on Instagram and stuff like that. I saw them people doing $150,000, $200,000 months. I was like, that, it's insane. I can't believe that's possible just from buying from retail websites and flipping it back on Amazon. So that's, some of those guys really opened my eyes to that. And I tried a couple other things. I didn't know if I'd actually even go back into Amazon, but I just opened an account. And again, because when me and my business partner separated, he took our book account, so he has that. So I opened up a new account and just kind of started focusing. How I started was I just kind of went to Walmart and started scanning some of the clearance and stuff like that, and just kind of, started getting a few sales and just kind of see what was happening, and from that standpoint.
Yeah, for sure. And just in general, is obviously your day-to-day is a lot different now than it was. Do you kind of want to describe what that looks like? Just because I assume it's drastically different than it was with the warehouse to being OA, to prep and all that.
Yeah. So like before, we were working 10, 12 hours a day doing, scanning books all day long in a hot warehouse.
Yep.
Managing employees not showing up, and doing box content, listing, all that kind of stuff. And, now it's so much easier from a labor standpoint. It's a lot more mental, work of trying to find leads and stuff doing OA. But now it's, I wake up, I have 2 VAs, I review their leads and stuff like that. Kind of search through any sales. I send everything to prep, so I don't have to do any of the prep myself, which is nice. But yeah, it's really just, doing a lot of manual searching, sourcing and stuff, and trying to find leads. That's really the gist of OA, is like just find good deals. Like if you can find good deals, you'll be successful with OA for sure.
How awesome is it to not have that warehouse and the sweat equity involved in the business?
It is nice. I do miss it. I look back upon that time very fondly. Like I don't, like, a lot of people look back at their time at Books and they're like, oh, I hate I even started Books. But I look back at it. I really enjoyed the Books, and I kind of miss the warehouse and stuff like that. Just from having like the accountability to like go to some place to work instead of working out of your house all the time, which was nice.
Yeah, and
Yeah, man, I feel like nowadays books are just like a natural stepping stone, and Miles and I
Yeah.
use it as such, right? To get your feet wet, proof of concept, build some capital, compound the first couple $100 into 1,000, and then start to branch off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And nowadays, I mean, I think Miles can agree, right? When we talk to people that are just getting started, I don't even think it's, start with books, gain the confidence, and then pivot, right? Because with OA, there's such a low barrier of entry as it compared to what it used to be with how ungating works and these sorts of things, right? And so I think nowadays, especially with the people I talk to, is get into OA, build confidence with
Yeah.
sourcing, develop that fluency, and then see how far you can take it.
Yeah, because it takes so much time. Like, that's if you just have like no money, Books is fine. But if you have any kind of startup money, I would definitely start with OA, because
Right.
a lot of it doesn't translate as well, as far as, because like when you're in the store, you're just scanning, you're not looking at Keepa, you're not applying coupons and
Yep.
trying to figure out how to get around order cancels. You're trying to negotiate, can I get this from $1 to 50 cents? I mean, with the cash register lady. But yeah, it's just a lot of it doesn't translate as well. But yeah, I would always, the people I talk to now, I always encourage them just to start OA, even if it's just like buying, cheap stuff OA wise, and trying to flip it for, almost break even or small profit, just to kind of get those reps in the beginning.
And so what were some of those big learning curves in the online arbitrage space getting started?
Probably just like learning to go a little bit deeper on stuff. That's kind of where I struggled in the beginning, was just like getting the confidence to go buy more than 3 or 4 units at a time. Because like in the book world, we had tons and tons of ASINs, but we only had 1 or 2 of each. And a lot of the stuff was really long tail, so it only sold 1 or twice a month. And I was kind of what I was used to, where stuff in OA, 10-15,000 rank, and you could sell 20 or 30 a day, no problem. And just kind of getting that confidence to go a little bit deeper, getting around, just kind of figuring out what my niche was also, because there's just so much information out there. You kind of get overwhelmed with all the different opportunities in all the different categories. And once I kind of niched down into some kind of certain categories, that's kind of where I broke out.
Mm-hmm.
And just so people listening can visualize, so you have a warehouse space, and what does it look like? Are there pallets being delivered of just giant containers of books that are all used? None of them are new.
Yeah.
There's a lot of junk in it. What percentage of them are good? That kind of thing.
Yeah. So we were doing about 2 truckloads a week. So we'd have a full 18-wheeler load of books come in twice a week. 48 Gaylords of books in each truck. We had a box dumper that forklift, put them in the box dumper, dump them out on this big table, processing them all, scanning them. About 10% of the books are good, and that's on a good day. So a lot of them, were recycling, sent into like a recycling type place that pays pennies on the pound for recycling. Then we had we put them all in these crates, and then we list them up. We had a girl that did all of our listing. She was probably the kind of the backbone of our operation, was our lister. She was with us from the whole time we were doing business. And yeah, so she was doing the listing, and we were doing box content. And then our goal was, when we were doing books at full scale, was to do like 8,000 to 10,000 books, sending off to FBA a week. And that was kind of our peak operation. But yeah, all LTL. We didn't do any small parcel shipments. Yeah, people everywhere. We didn't have a ton of space. We only had we had a 1,500 square foot warehouse that we stored all the Gaylords in, and then like about a 1,500 foot warehouse that we processed out of. And we had, at our peak, we had about 10 people in that space. So we were all, shoulder to shoulder pretty much, working side by side. So there was, a lot of personalities, a lot of different things going on all there all the time. Yeah, it was a wild time for sure.
Were you guys doing eBay? Were you doing eBay at all? No, right? Because you said no FBM.
I mean, like 5 or 6 orders a day type thing. I mean, not at any scale.
Yeah, I think that's what you have to do if you want to do bulk books these days, is you have to do FBM, you have to do eBay. That's what a lot of people are saying.
Yeah, I think, and it seems like there's more, from just what I've heard, I don't know for sure, but it seems like there's more kind of third-party type sites that are opening up for books. It seems like to do it at full scale, you'd have to be on all those sites.
Yeah, like buy back the book and all those.
Yeah, sell back your book. That dude's awesome, man. He's always been in the Amazon community.
Yeah, we've sent him quite a bit of books for sure.
I feel like the overhead aspect of the book operation, managing employees, teams, all those sorts of things, that's going to translate super well, because I feel like as people grow in OA, one of the biggest learning curves is starting to onboard VAs and how to manage them, right? Because those are like the leadership, soft sorts of skills that you don't necessarily gain by just looking at keeper graphs, right? And so that's something that you have already fine-tuned. You manage a team, you had that kind of leadership ability, which if you wanted to build out your VA team even more, that's probably going to translate super well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's, a lot of people don't, you don't pick up those skills by just buying stuff online.
Exactly.
You kind of have to learn that over time. And especially with, managing VAs virtually, it's, it's always a challenge, especially because, they're working generally while we're asleep, and, trying to communicate with them and work that out is definitely been tough, but we're trying to navigate that the best we can for sure.
Yeah, how does that work? How do you pay them? Is it pay per lead? How much do you expect out of them a day? Do you do it hourly?
Yeah, so with my two, I pay them, we pay every 2 weeks, and I pay based on a 40-hour work week. They generally work about 8 or so hours a day. My expectation with them is, I'm trying to get away from just like a bulk expectation of 8 or 10 leads a day, because
that's where that's where a lot of people go wrong.
Yeah, because I think that's where I'm kind of misled them in the beginning, was like, because I didn't want to set the expectation too low or too high, and that's kind of what I've heard from other people. We're trying to work away from that. Is, I want 2 or 3 good leads a day. I mean, because that's really all we need. Is if we can get 2 or 3 good leads a day, or even if you work that out for the whole week, if we can get 15 good leads a week, 15 good leads a week for, each one, I mean, that's perfect. Good purchasable leads. We throw everything in a Google, Google Sheet. We use SellerAmp. So
yeah, do you give them? I assume you give them your login.
Yeah, so we use LastPass, and I gave them logins to everything.
Yeah.
Yes, that was, because that's like the big thing was like, how do I share all my stuff without like giving them all my passwords and everything? So download LastPass, save all your passwords there. Then you can assign folders to each VA. They automatically have all your passwords information without seeing your username or password. So I mean, that's worked wonderful. Like I can't speak highly enough about that.
Damn. Okay. Yeah, I need to do that, because there's a couple of Twitter things that are really manual that I don't feel like doing, that I would really want to do, but I wouldn't give up my password for it. Definitely.
Yeah. So like, for example, like one of the VAs does a little bit of admin work for me. She organizes all my emails and stuff, like order confirmations, tracks all of our shipments and stuff like that. And she has access to all my email there, but she doesn't have my username or password. so she can log in from remotely. And at any point in time, I could remove that from her and she couldn't log in at all.
What are some of those implementations that you use to stay organized with order confirmations, tracking? How do you manage all of that? Because that's something that can get super messy at scale.
God.
Yeah, that's when I started scaling up. That's where it was just so overwhelming, and like I was losing stuff. Stuff was getting canceled all the time. So we set up a process through a catch-all where we route everything through a catch-all, then everything from that catch-all forwards to another email. So we have 2 copies of everything, and that's what she has, is that kind of last of the bottom of the funnel of all the emails. She throws them all into folders based on order confirmation, shipment confirmation, delivery, like was delivered, and then another folder if it was canceled. And she updates our kind of master purchase sheet. So I just have to look at the master purchase sheet to tell what was canceled, what was delivered, and all that kind of stuff.
Does she compare credit card statements too?
She doesn't. I haven't done the greatest job of that. That's one of our goals this year, is to get a little bit more kind of narrow that down a little
as
bit.
an Amazon seller, bookkeeping is overrated.
Yeah, I think the play, it would be maybe just like every 2 weeks downloading a transaction report from Amex and giving it to her, and just having her match up and stuff. Like in general, like honestly, I actually had a couple orders ship where the charges did drop last night. I ordered them like 2 weeks ago, and the charges are nowhere to be found, but they did ship, which is kind of cool. But you figure some stuff, unfortunately, is happening in the opposite direction too.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, and that's for sure. And that's like where, because like before, like stuff was getting canceled and all kinds of stuff. And I'd look at my prep sheet and I was like, why hasn't this been delivered? And I was like, oh, it was canceled like 3 or 4 weeks ago. Where now, she's telling me immediately, if it was canceled, I'm able to go back and replace that order or try to, get around that cancel.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, how much of the stuff you buy is replens, if any?
Probably 15 or 20%.
Cool.
So a lot of new stuff.
Yeah, I think they're super overrated though. If you just get good at finding stuff, you just inevitably find stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's the kind of thing that comes as a result of getting good at it.
Right.
That's the thing. That's something we talk about all the time, right? I mean, just look for singles, right? Don't look for the replenishable product. You don't source for replenishables. You source for profitable products, and then inevitably, right, the replenishable products just show themselves, right? As you gain the ability to restock and restock and restock, you start to develop your quote unquote long-term catalog. And that's ultimately what allows you and assists you in scaling to those bigger sorts of numbers.
Yeah, I think like that's one thing I've kind of come across, like talking to some other guys, is like everybody's looking for like those 10, they want like 10 master replens that just run their entire store. Well, you don't find those, like you just don't go out and find those immediately. Those come over time. Like my best replen was something I ordered 3 of at first, sold out 3, bought 10, sold out 10. Then realized, oh, maybe, this is a better replen that I can find on a coupon, that kind of recurs, every month or so. And I can just keep going back to the well there. But you don't just place a 100-lot order on, the first order and say, oh, that's my replen. You have to kind of find and fine tune that over time.
Yeah, and then what's kind of the like year goal? Because do you want to just keep doing online arbitrage? Do you like the current setup? Are you going to move to Oregon to take it all in? What's kind of the play?
Yeah, so I want to keep growing online arbitrage. I want to start kind of dipping my toe into wholesale and trying to start expand a little bit out of just kind of diversify a little bit. But I don't see, like a lot of people, I think, seem like, or their kind of mentality is like online arbitrage is getting saturated and all that. I don't see it that way. I think it's going to be all around for a long time. So, I'm not worried about that, because I mean, there's always will be sales and always deals, and there's always limited supply of that. So, I mean, as long as you keep finding good stuff, I'm going to keep doing OA, but I would like to kind of start dipping my toe into wholesale and kind of work into a kind of more like a hybrid model between both of them.
And so what do you think that looks like for you? Is that distribution model? Is that brand model? Do you even know yet?
I think I'm going to start trying with the like the distributor model, just because I feel like it kind of translates more to, you know, OA versus that kind of brand direct model. Because I mean, I don't have much to offer as far as, you know, listing enhancement, all this other stuff that maybe a brand direct would be looking for and as a partner. But I do know how to find stuff and just, you know, kind of piece it back to Amazon.
I mean, I feel like a lot of people just, I mean, working with brand direct doesn't necessarily mean you have to add some sort of extra value other than just giving them money or just being
Right.
available for a phone call or an email or a text or just placing consistent orders, right? That's value in itself. Being able to call them every single week or every single month with an order, I mean, that's value. That's something that, believe it or not, a lot of Amazon sellers struggle with, which is probably why Amazon sellers get such a bad rep in the space.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I've people I've talked to, a lot of people seem like they're going kind of to branch out into wholesale. So like I would imagine a lot of these wholesalers are going to get a lot of phone calls in the first part
Oh,
of the
yeah.
year here. And you know, I kind of was thinking, well, maybe you better kind of follow up with a lot of these people, you know, March, April, when all these other people kind of give off the first 500.
Start now and follow up every month.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
Because again, that's something that a lot of people aren't going to do is they'll send the
Yeah.
first email, they'll get the no,
Right.
and then right,
yeah,
every
Yes.
single one of our best brand accounts starts with that first no. It starts with the rejection, and then you overcome that objection and flip it into a yes. That's where the money's made.
Yeah.
Do you think if you did the book stuff again now, you could do it to where it would sustain for years and years?
Yeah, I think so.
And that would have been, I assume, like, what would you have done differently?
You'd have to now go definitely into a merchant fulfilled model.
Yeah, for restock limits.
Yeah, with the restock limits, and I would imagine all these new storage fees that are coming out the last week or so, that's going to play a big factor in the booksellers game, I think. But yeah, I think there's a lot of, I mean, there's still a ton of supply out there for books, and I don't
You
think the
got a
demand
bunch
is
of
still.
it behind you.
Yeah, I always just like had a free supply of books, so I just was like, if I was ever going to build a bookshelf, this is the time to do it. So.
How long do you think? Go ahead.
What was the weirdest thing you found in a Gaylord? For anyone listening, a Gaylord is one of those giant containers of books, basically.
We found all kinds of stuff. I mean, we found a wig.
Oh, that can't be the weirdest thing, though. I've seen wigs in Gaylords before.
Yeah, wigs, liquor bottles. I mean, just all kinds of crazy stuff.
Bicycle's got to be up there. Someone found a bicycle in there. That's got to be up there. Maybe the largest item.
Yeah, probably the worst one we had was full of rats. We dumped it out on the table.
Yeah.
And,
Okay.
mice and rats went everywhere.
Yeah, that's the worst.
I'm assuming they were dead.
No, they were still alive.
Well, no, at least they escaped. Yeah.
Yeah, they left. They left pretty quickly.
How much do you have a sense in terms of how long the book model would have been feasible? Like, do you think there's an end in sight with books specifically? I know it's a tough question, but
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think people will always, you know, I think maybe there may be an end on Amazon, but I don't think there's an end for people buying, you know, used books until new books kind of reach that like price of like, you know, where it's kind of like there's just not the spread between the new book and the used book. As long as like new books are still $25-$30 a piece, I think there's always going to be demand for used books.
you don't think like Audible and all the audio books nowadays have a negative effect on the book space?
I think a lot of that curve's
No.
already hit. I think a lot of
Yeah,
it.
I think people that are going to switch to Audible have already switched, and Audible's also, I mean, it's expensive. For what you mean, you only get one book a month for $16.99 or something.
Really?
So, Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
it's not cheap.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
not cheap. And a lot of people just like that, book in their hand feel.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think it's a lot better for your brain and stuff, but whatnot. And such. How long have you had the VAs for?
So I got them at the end of August, I think, first
Yeah.
part of September.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you've like, were they good initially? Did they have experience initially, or are they way better now than they were then?
They didn't. Neither of them had experience.
You just raw dogged them with no experience? Like,
Yeah.
like pick people you like, basically?
Yeah. So what I did is, I went through and set up the, online jobs.ph. 150 applicants later, I kind of weeded them out, sent them a test of like kind of familiarity of, some keepagraph, stuff like that, and kind of narrowed it down to like 10 or 15, did some interviews with them. Ended up just going with 2 people that I really liked. And I felt, that we could work well together, had, some compassion for their situation and stuff like that, and said, all right, let's, and they both, I think, had some understanding of Amazon and what we were trying to do, like from YouTube and stuff like that. That's another thing. Like a lot of people don't. I guess I didn't put this together, but they watch all of our stuff in YouTube videos and stuff like that. Like one time I showed them a video of you, Miles, and they were like, "Oh, I love Miles. I watch his stuff all the time." So it's a big thing for them to watch, all our FBA content on YouTube. So they had that kind of familiarity, but they've never worked for another U.S. employer, just for Amazon. And then we just kind of have slowly trained and transitioned and worked through the kinks of things. And we're far from where we want to be, but we're a lot farther along than we were when we started.
And what's your do you have weekly meetings, monthly meetings?
Yeah, so we try to meet once a week for like on a Zoom call, and then we stay in pretty close contact through Slack. That's what we use.
Oh, that's corporate.
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
like Slack. You can search the messages. That's what I really like about Slack.
Yeah, so that I think a lot of people use Discord. I'm not a huge fan of Discord, so I was like, let's just use Slack, and it works well. I try to post like something every day, like, hey, let's work on this and this today,
Yeah, you deploy
and try to keep that constant contact with them instead of just kind of letting them free reign.
Yeah, for sure. I think that makes a ton of sense to get him to the point. That's what Warner does a lot, is like he's really tapped into the community similar to you. So like you see XYZ sales going on. Hey guys, check this out, right? Different things that are going on.
Right.
Those are few and far between these days, just in terms of like the market cycle of where we at in January. Are they doing a lot of reverse sourcing too?
Yeah, so that's where we started, was just doing like storefront stalking. I'm trying to get them to transition more out of just storefront stalking all the time and trying to focus more, kind of develop that manual sense, because that's where I spend all my time, is manual sourcing. So I'm trying to train and develop them into kind of that sixth sense of what's good and what's not, just by looking through products versus having to click through everything.
Are they ever introduce you to new things? Like, hey, did you see this coupon? Have you ever thought about this website?
Yeah, they bring up new websites that I've never heard of, like, all the time. I don't know if it's just like the way their VPN works or whatever, but it's like stuff like, I'm like, I've never even heard of this website. And a lot of times, like, they'll bring up like Bolo type products that I've also like haven't even heard of and stuff like that. And there'll be like 100 people in the listing, but I was like, how have I not heard about this?
Yeah. There's a ton of stuff like that, especially even now, like a lot of supplements and stuff that you can order a ton of, but like such a good option.
Yeah.
If anyone's listening, go out and look for those, because you can make a quick couple $100 per SKU, and there's like probably 10 SKUs, and that's so easy, just storefront stalking too, because like one leads to another inevitably, and such. And I assume prep center's tax free, right? Sales tax free.
Yep, they're located in Montana.
Yeah, because you're in Alabama, right? So you'd be paying like 9-10%, right?
Yeah, it's not 9.5% where I am.
Yeah.
So it's super high. That was one of the first things I did, was get the prep center. As soon as like I kind of figured out I could consistently order stuff, I went ahead and got the prep center. So
Yeah, for anyone listening, how that works basically. So in Tyler's home state, if he sends inventory there, right, and say you buy an $100 item, you'll pay, what was it, 109.5? You said is not 95.
yeah,
Yeah, right. But if
Ooh,
he orders it
that's
to,
heavy.
I know, if he orders it to Oregon, he'll just pay 100. So what he does, and what Garrett and I do, is we work with prep centers in Oregon, Montana, New Hampshire, and Delaware, which are the states, and I think Alaska too. But the states with no sales tax, so that we can arbitrage basically the difference, and it's all about just where the product is sent and everything. So like if it's any item, you're probably paying like $1.05, $7, $3, something like that. And then if it's
Yep.
any item, and even like in like the $15 range, you're saving money and not having to manage people, and not having to do the work, and not having to lease the warehouse space, and not having to pay the supplies. Like, it's excellent, and a lot of you guys listening should start to look into that once you've done some volume, like even like 10K a month in sales, if you have the capacity to buy 500 units a month.
yeah. And I always like tell people too, like, that have a full-time job. I mean, because generally, if you have a full-time job, you don't need the Amazon income to, immediately. Go ahead and get that prep center. Spend all your time sourcing. Don't spend any time prepping, because that's all your money's made sourcing. You're not making any money prepping.
Yeah, very well
Yeah.
said. That was a good little bar for are you on Twitter?
I am. I don't post on Twitter though.
Yeah, you probably pull Instagram posts though from it? I feel like I've seen you do
No.
that. No,
I
okay, yeah, well, that was a good
tried to
little
like start Twitter, and then I was just like, that's too much. I was like, I can
Yeah.
just post on Instagram
Yeah,
easier.
you've done a good job on Instagram. You started that, not like, it was pretty recent, last 6 months, right?
Yeah. I just started a new account for like FBA type stuff.
Yeah.
And it's pretty basic. I don't, post a ton. I just try to post like,
Do enough.
you know,
This.
yeah. So your
Do enough to
sales
be a good-
screenshots, a couple boxes, some merchant fulfilled boxes, and I just kind of repost stuff that I find that's funny, and
Sure.
stuff like that. And I've met a lot of people through it. That's like, you don't have to do a ton. You just need to do something.
You need to do something. And almost none of you guys listening are even doing the bare minimum. And you're wondering why it's so hard for you to meet people. Meanwhile, Garrett's showing his face online. Tyler's showing his face online. I'm showing our face online. And we attracted you guys not by not existing, not by posting once a month. We did it by being consistent and existing and showing personality. And voila, here we all are. You guys are listening to us for a reason. And all that. But yeah, you've really done it right, because it's like it's enough to where you probably know the majority of the people you're ever going to have to meet to make an easy 100, 150, 200 grand profit annually with total scalability if you want to, and everything like that. But yeah, like back in the book days, did you guys know other Amazon people, or was it just a lot of trial and error on your own?
No, complete trial and error.
You're a
Nope.
dark
In the book game back then, it's changed now. But nobody told anybody anything. Like, it was, except for like the people like Caleb Roth and Romer, and that were, kind of the faces of the book world, but everybody else very close, closed off. We never even told people what we did. Now I tell everybody everything, and it's not, because it's unlimited information and there's unlimited opportunity, where when we were in the book world, it was kind of more finite. There wasn't as, there's tons of opportunity, but it was all kind of, you didn't want to tell another bulk seller down the road, hey, you should really scale up your bulk business, because that would take directly from your business.
Yeah, and that's such
Whereas, that doesn't matter.
Yeah. And even that, like, sure, I kind of get it on the book side because it's a lot more scarce in terms of stuff, but like you would learn so much more to where even if you lost, like, I don't know, like what would the average Gaylord make you profit? Probably like $250.
Yeah, $200, $300.
Exactly. Like you could make that up with like one extra book a month, that like, those booksellers where they can like look at a book and it'll be like the ancient religion of like the 1600, and they'll just be like, okay, that's $300, and then it will be on eBay. Like there's, I'm sure, a lot of alpha that's traded with that and everything. And and such.
Yeah, that's one where we definitely messed up on that. We didn't network with anybody. We were very closed off. We were just kind of existing in our own kind of world, and we didn't really talk to anybody else about books.
But I
Yeah.
mean, especially starting out, I feel like it's sort of like a counterintuitive concept, counterintuitive. And so that's something that a lot of
Yeah.
people have to mature with, right? Because Amazon, right, you have your sources, you buy products, this and that, right? But you don't necessarily put two and two together that, okay, the more I share, the more money I make. The more I put out, the more I get back. The more I share the leads with other people, oftentimes the more leads come back to you in reciprocal form, right? And so
Absolutely.
that's something that I think is a maturity point for a lot of people in the Amazon space.
Yeah, I'm trying to like conceptualizing it. When you think about it though, like say if you go to college, like you're expected to talk to other people. When theoretically at college, you're all going after the same thing, which is the good jobs, right? And it'd be like a lot of Amazon people go to like they're going to stuff and that no one has any idea who they are. So there's a 0% chance they can get any type of referral for something. And like that, it just makes very little sense, I feel like, to operate like that. But hey, what do we know? And stuff like that. So you obviously, now that you've done the social stuff, you get a lot of DMs. What are people mainly asking about? And then kind of like, what are the typical things you're recommending in terms of like ways they should go about it? Because you've been now successful with 2 different models.
Yeah, a lot of people are struggling with like the actual business side of operations, like keeping up with like your email and kind of like managing just like the business side of stuff. A lot of the people I've talked to kind of got the sourcing part down, but it's managing the actual business part of Amazon. It's kind of what a lot of the questions I've got are. And then like, you know, the typical stuff like how do I start, or, you know,
That have put
how do I get around cancels? Well, you know,
That's a good
have you
question.
got canceled on
Now
yet?
they care of that, but yeah, and that's a complicated topic, but yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone
You
listening?
know,
Oh, sorry.
oh yeah. I mean, a lot of people I think could, you know, just do some Google searching, stuff like that, you know, could solve a lot of your answer
Oh
questions.
yeah.
Like 10 and even just becoming the type of human being that can solve problems without asking questions, which society definitely doesn't want you. Like they want you asking to go to the bathroom, asking for permission and different stuff like that. Just through school and all that. But yeah, like seriously, like you can tell by the quality of someone's questions how successful they're going to be with it. Like if they're struggling with ungating, like it's going to be a lot harder than the person who just like, okay, I need to buy from Kohl's. Okay, I'll do it. That done a week later. Okay, they've already found it. You just get so much quicker. You get to your goals so much quicker when you're not asking those little questions, because you're conditioning yourself to find them on your own, not wait for someone else. And that compounded over a year might save you a month or something. And that could be in this, couple of $1,000, $10,000 extra dollars in your pocket and such, based on the acquired knowledge and all that. Cool. Anything else you want to touch on, Garrett?
No, I think that's it. Where can people find you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my Instagram is real life FBA.
Couple
And
underscores.
I think it's real _ life _ FBA.
Sweet. Cool. Recovering bookseller turned online arbitrage aficionado.
That's right.
Yeah, man. Thanks for hopping on. Thanks for listening. Thanks to everyone who tunes in and all that. We're gonna pump out a whole bunch more of these. Go follow Tyler on Instagram, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks a lot.
See you guys.
Thanks for having me, guys.